Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Den, Ethan Lividitis with me, and we're here just like last week for week 9, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Math.
Uh,
Uh,
whatever.
week 9 power rankings for the NFL. Tough week for us Eagles. We're going to take a break to save our souls from talking about, Carson Wentz and Ben DiNucci and the garbage bowl battle. But yeah, get right into it.
Yeah,
32 to 25. You want to start? Want me to
yeah,
start?
yeah, go. 32, the Jets. It's that they don't deserve to be talked about. Lost to the Chiefs. Jags 31. They're on bye, I'm pretty sure. 30, the Giants that
They
they
gave
were
us life.
like one Daniel Jones pass away from beating the Bucks.
Yup.
I mean, that might have been pass interference, I don't know, on Winfield, but
I
yeah. I
uh,
don't want to give Daniel Jones any credit
any
for
credit,
a
yeah.
late throw. And then 29 Texans, they suck, and the Dolphins are getting their pick. So that's good. 28 the Cowboys, they suck. Not much more to say. If you lose to Carson Wentz and Travis Fulgham and a non-factor known as Dallas Goedert, then you're gonna be wrong. 27 the Falcons, they won a game. They beat the Panthers, so
Yep.
sure. Even though that was like the most pathetic win because Teddy Bird, I don't know why he thought it was like a free play, so he just chucked it up like right to the Falcons. But I don't know, their offense is still good. That's the only reason why they have any wins. But 20 is kind of the opposite. Kind of. The Chargers, I mean, no, they're actually really similar to the Falcons. They choked just as much. Lost to the Broncos. Justin Herbert, still maybe the offensive rookie of the year, but that's rough. They've
Yeah.
choked away so many wins. They would be maybe in like the hunt for like the wild card at this point,
Yeah.
but they suck. Speaking of teams that suck, the Patriots.
It's a crazy sentence to say.
Yeah, we we we. I'm pretty sure in our predictions video, people were not like you and George were like, "Oh, they're gonna go like 9-7." I'm like, no,
I
I
said
don't.
11 to 5.
Jeez,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Not fantastic.
yeah. They're not a good football team, and they are at 25. So you can go into yours right now.
All right. So, 32, we're going to start with the New York Jets. I mean, obviously the worst team in football. They got, absolutely destroyed by Patrick Mahomes, put up video game numbers this weekend, so we'll see. 31, Jacksonville. Um, Not really much to say. I mean, the way I'm honestly a little annoyed with the way they've handled the Gardner Minshew situation. I think he's played fantastic so far this season, but the injury sucks, so we'll see
Yeah,
what happens from there. 30, the New York Giants. I was really impressed with how this defense played last night. I'm gonna be
yeah.
dead honest. Like I've never seen the Giants defense play that good, and it's probably been 3 years.
6 years. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I that team, scarily enough, like I said last week, still has a chance for the NFC East. So we'll see. 29, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Um, Garrett Gilbert is not gonna save this team, I don't think. Um, that defense is one of the worst in football, and despite, look if you look at the box score, it seemed like they did a lot, but I think that was more of a product of an absolutely terrible offensive showing from the Eagles. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. 28, I have the Houston Texans. Um, I think this team has been, fun to watch, but obviously Romeo Crennel is not the best coach, and their defense is an absolute mess.
yeah.
Um, 27, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Kind of turning into the Atlanta Falcons, which, funny enough, I'll kind of combine them. They're my 26. Um, Not great coaching from either team, especially in the last 10 minutes, obviously. Um, Justin Herbert and Matt Ryan both playing, I think, decent ball. I mean, Matt
Yeah.
Ryan, not one of his best seasons, but still good. Justin Herbert, I think Joe Burrow is probably the rookie of the year right now, but Justin Herbert hasn't been awful either. So, yeah, and I mean, overperforming on defense, especially on the Charger side, just can't hold leads. So,
Yeah.
not good. And 25, I have New England. And this one kind of hurts because I was really looking forward to the Cam Newton experiment. I think Belichick and the zone runs and the way that defense performed the first couple weeks that got me really excited. But that team just does not have
Yeah.
the firepower to compete, and so yeah, just not fantastic.
All right. So 24 through 16, Lions. It's Matthew Stafford's my guy. I've said that so many times before, but if you get smacked by Nyheim Hines and Philip Rivers and Jordan Wilkins by like 20 at home, you're just not a good football team. And they've started out fine. Like they had a couple good wins like against Atlanta, but I don't know, they'll always just be in the basement. So 23, I mean the Broncos, their season started off like a disaster, losing Von Miller, Carlin Sutton, Drew Lock for a few weeks, but now they're looking a little bit better. Be the Chargers comeback that we just talked about. But yeah, Drew Lock looks pretty good. I think KJ Hamler got that touchdown.
Yeah, Penn
Yeah,
State legend.
yeah. But I don't know. The AFC is kind of wide open right now because once you can see as we go higher up, most of these teams are just kind of there.
Yep.
But for 22, we got the Bengals. Very impressive win against the Titans. Joe Burrow is the GOAT. And yeah, I think their offense is still really great. They just need a defense. But I don't know. Even without Joe Mixon, I think they're still a really solid team. So for their expectations, they are not a great team.
Great
But
team. Period. Yeah.
yeah, they're 21, the Vikings. I know that might seem a little low, but I don't think beating the Packers does a lot because I don't see them capitalizing off of this later because we've seen how they play this season. They're just super one-sided. I don't know. Their offense is pretty good, even though Kirk Cousins sucks. Justin Jefferson, Thielen, and Cook are all great, but the defense has only had like Eric Hendricks be the bright spot, and that's it. But again, both conferences are just wide open because I don't know. There's so many pathetic teams. Speaking of pathetic teams, 20, the football team, they're on bye.
That high,
After,
huh?
yeah, it's so weird. After they beat the Cowboys, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. They're passable. For Kyle Allen has actually been okay, which is surprising, even though it was the Cowboys defense. But I don't know. Oh,
Our $180 million man couldn't take care of them. So
yeah. So in 19, we got the Eagles, four seed in the NFC, Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, they're we're going to talk about it later. Just I hate this team. It's so annoying.
Yep.
And yeah, I'll save my anger for later. But at 18, we got the Panthers. Still support Teddy Bridgewater, even though I just talked trash about him at the Falcons game. But other than that, I don't know. I've been generally happy with them, even though DJ Moore only had two catches in fantasy for me, which is really annoying. And Mike Davis is now worthless before in fantasy, and I had him in multiple leagues. But Carolina Panthers, I think they're still pretty good team. Offense is good. Defense is pretty nice. I like Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, and
Yeah. Could have taken Jeremy
yeah,
Chin.
yeah. They just need a few more defensive pieces, like in the secondary, maybe some linemen, and they're set. 17, the Browns, kind of disappointing when they lost to the Raiders, but overall they've been decent. I don't know. Without Nick Chubb, I think Kareem Hunt stepped up pretty adequately. Even without OBJ, their offense is still fine. Defense, I still think Myles Garrett is up there as far as defensive player of the year goes. But yeah, and then finally at 16, the Dolphins. I did not expect this defense to go crazy against Jared Goff, but I'm
They
impressed.
do the thing, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really a spectacular game from Tua, but it was mostly just the defense just smacking the Rams. But I don't know. I think with how I don't want to say that they can take the division, but the Bills look garbage.
Yeah. I
So
wouldn't say they can take it, but we'll
yeah,
see. We'll see.
they'll
Yeah.
be a little better than expected.
Yo. All right. So 24 through 16. Um, we're gonna start with number 24 in the Washington football team. I know this is a little lower, but I mean, I can't say I've been incredibly impressed, to be honest. I mean, they're fine, they're passable, they're a lot better than I thought they would be, but I think that secondary has overperformed, and I think offensively they still have a lot of work to do. We have to remember that big performance was against one of the worst defenses in NFL history, the Cowboys defense. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Number 23, I had the Denver Broncos. And this Denver team, fights. Fought throughout without Drew Lock. They're fighting with him. I think their defense isn't fantastic, especially since they lost Von Miller before the season even started. But I think they're a solid team, and I think in an AFC like you said that is that wide open, they could contend for that wild card spot. I think they're going to have to fight for the Dolphins with the Dolphins for that. Number 22, I have us. It's depressing that I even put us this high. I really don't know why I did this, but we're terrible.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. I think we still have the inside route to the division just because I think we are better than the football team. We are getting a lot healthier. I think the O line was slightly better the other night, which I think is a good sign. But still an underperforming and overall terrible football team. That's at the end of the day. Number 21, I have the Bengals. I was shocked what Sunday when I saw that they had beaten the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I knew this was a good team for again compared to expectations. I knew Joe Burrow has been fantastic all season. I think there was a lot of Justin Herbert buzz the past couple of weeks, but it's been undermined how great Joe Burrow has been the past couple of weeks too. I think he's had, I don't know about in real life, but in fantasy, he's had back to back to back 20-point performances, which is insane. So, yeah, I think this Bengals team is definitely going to compete. I like their defense a lot more than most people. I know they just traded Carlos Dunlap, but their D line is not terrible. So, yeah, they got pieces for the future. I'm happy if I'm a Cincinnati fan. Number 20, I have Minnesota. Great win over Green Bay. I watched part of it. Dalvin Cook is an absolute monster. I know that Green Bay run defense isn't fantastic, but he just destroyed them, honestly. They got rid of a lot of weapons in the D line, so their defense isn't going to be fantastic, but it's still solid enough. 19, I have Detroit. I like them a lot better than you do. Matt Patricia is a horrible coach. This team has a lot of potential. I mean, they've really blown it up as far as management in Detroit. But I still believe in Matthew Stafford. DeAndre Swift is talented. I think, this team has a shot at the future if they can get better leadership and possibly get younger. So I believe in that. Number 18, I have Carolina. I was not impressed Thursday Night Football. They were not fantastic against a Falcons defense that has shown nothing to me all season. But I still think, Teddy Bridgewater has put up numbers all season. Christian McCaffrey coming back should open up a ton for that offense. And like you said, that defense isn't that bad. I mean, they still held Matt Ryan to 25 points. So something to look forward to for the future. And number 17, I have San Francisco. just a mess. I mean, you lose Kittle and Jimmy G in the same week. These injuries are going to start to add up. And I mean, I personally cannot see them making the playoffs right now, just based on all the injuries they have sustained. Richard Sherman, trading Quan Alexander. I think it's going to be too much.
Hmm.
And finally, 16, I have the Cleveland Browns. Um, this Browns team is fun, but I just don't think they're very good, to be honest. I mean, their defense is terrible. Offensively, they're on and off. Myles Garrett is a defensive player of the year candidate. I just don't get why their secondary has been so awful, especially since, they've spent so many high draft picks on it. It's just kind of a disaster. But they're still going to make the playoffs. They're just going to lose in the first round. I think
Yeah.
that's the outcome. All right.
Was that your 16?
That was 16.
All right. 15 to 6 of 15. I'll be very mad at this, but the Chicago Bears, very infuriating football team.
Nikki Six disrespect?
It's not, I'm not mad.
It's
I'm
not
not,
disrespect.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not disrespect Nick Foles, it's disrespect Matt Nagy, because that offense is just
Terrible.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, their defense is kind of carrying them, but I don't know. They barely lost to the Saints, which is respectable, I guess, but yeah, they're still. I mean, they're better than I thought they would be, so I'll give them that, but they're still not good.
Yep.
14 got the Raiders. They beat the Browns. They always seem to be good for no reason.
Yep.
Sure, even though with all the COVID stuff, it's pathetic, really stupid. But
Yep. Wear a mask.
yeah, wear a mask. But yeah, good job Raiders. And then 13, Niners. I don't. They shouldn't be this high, by the way. The Niners are not a good football team
Yep.
at all.
Nope.
I don't know why they're this high. I think they're better than the. They're on par with like the Bears and the Dolphins. But whatever.
I mean, what did the Dolphins do to them?
Yeah, who cares? But 12, the Colts. They're still they're not much better, but they beat the Lions by 20. It's very weird to think.
Yep.
Like their offense has generally been pretty bad. I mean, their
Yep.
defense has been solid, so that's the only reason why they're this high.
Philip Rivers, yeah.
11, you got the Rams. They were higher. I mean, let me see. Let's scroll up. Yeah, they were like they slipped a few spots just because you cannot have an offense with that firepower and then get get absolutely stomped by the
On the Dolphins.
Dolphins defense.
Yep.
Then at 10, we got the Saints. They're a very annoying team. I mean, they've done good enough without Michael Thomas, but like most of these wins have generally been unimpressive.
Yep.
But that division is, other than, I mean, it's a generally okay division, but outside of Tampa, there's a lot of just mediocrity. So then at number 9, other than the NFC East teams and the Patriots, probably like the most annoying team in the league, the Bills. They only beat the Patriots because Cam Newton choked. Like they got they went from one of the best teams in the league to yeah. It's the only reason they're at 9 is because they've won games so far,
Yep.
and that's it. And then at 8, Titans. I think they slipped a lot.
They did sleep a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, they're at 4. Now they're at 8.
Yep.
And I mean, when you lose to the Bengals, even though I did praise them just earlier, but you can't be a contending team and lose to the Bengals.
Nah, the talent differential's too much.
Yeah. And 7, we got the Cardinals. They were on a bye, but I mean they're still impressive enough. They're uh, and also seeing the Cardinals at 7 is probably weird to some people, but once you go down as far as we've gone, it's just out of the top 5, it kind of just completely
Yep.
dips in quality. So don't
Yep.
don't take 7 as like, oh, the Cardinals were amazing.
No.
Just like at 6, you got the Packers. They're
Not
not
great.
not great. Their offense is being carried by pissed off Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, but defense with
It's not
all
there.
that individual talent is just garbage. It's so weird. But good job. You made me lose in fantasy because of Dalvin Cook, and I'll never forgive you for that. You can go into your whatever
All
that's
right. So 15, I have the Oakland Raiders. This team just plays tough. I mean, I like watching them play. Their defense, Mad Max Crosby, a lot of good guys. Um, and offensively, I think Derek Carr has become one of the most underrated quarterbacks in football. I mean, honestly, he has even outperformed last season. And I think this team definitely has a wild card chance. Number 14, the Dolphins' defense. This is Miami. Their defense is spectacular. I don't know. I mean, how they've gotten this great. Xavier Howard is fantastic. They got a lot of pieces in the secondary. I think, that's definitely great for the future. And Tua did, like you said, had to do nothing. So I'm interested in
Yeah.
seeing what's going to happen for the future and how Tua is going to perform. I think that definitely affects whether they will be a playoff team or not. Number 13, I have the Bears. Uh, this team is infuriating to watch. I will give you that. But, I mean, that defense is tough as nails. And I think if you put a competent quarterback in that offense in the offseason, I'm sorry, Nick, a competent starting quarterback in the offseason, then that team rolls. They also just don't have many weapons. I think, it's
Mhm.
Allen Robinson, and then it kind of goes flat from there. So we'll see. We'll see. I think they definitely could be a playoff team, too. Number 11, I have the Colts. I hate doing this. I just don't like this team.
Yeah.
Their defense is good, but Philip Rivers in this offense is just horrid to watch. I usually love watching Frank Reich offenses. I loved watching Jacoby last season, but Philip Rivers just doesn't have much left, and they're obviously trying to hide them when you watch them play football.
Yeah.
So it's not great, but they are good. They are, what's it, 5-2, 6-2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I mean, still a good football team. Number 10, I have the Saints. This was a big jump, and I don't necessarily know if they're deserving of it, or if it's just the teams that were originally above them last week just were so terrible that I had to move them down. Obviously, San Francisco and the Rams and the Bears as well. But this Saints team, even though Drew Brees is slowly deteriorating, I think this offense is still going to be good with Alvin Kamara being the running back he is. I think once Michael Thomas gets back, they will kick in. And their defense isn't that bad either. I think their D line is still as good as previous years. So they're solid. And number 9, I have the Bills. Um, I dislike watching them as much as you do, but Josh Allen is doing his thing. You have to admit that. Um, I mean, that defense is very, very, very good, even though they didn't have the best showing this Sunday against Cam and the Pats. I think it was kind of a trap game, just like that Jets game. I still don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but I think they will recover and win that AFC East pretty easily. Number 8, I have Arizona. Uh, this team is fun to watch. Like, there's not much else you can say about it. They're every single AFC, NFC West game they're going to play is going to be must-see TV. Kyler Murray is, I mean, I have to apologize for the way I've underrated him going into the offseason. I mean, the running ability, I think I underestimated how good his arm was. I think taking huge steps going into the season. And that defense is scrappy,
Yep.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, they're not great, but they're not horrible either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that team that gives them a chance. And number 7, I have Green Bay. Um, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones. Defense still horrible, and the offensive line could use a lot of work based on what I saw Sunday. But still one of the top NFC teams for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, it's an Aaron Rodgers team. What do you expect? And number 6, I have Tennessee, right outside the top 5. I probably should have dropped them lower after that Bengals game, but I still think that's a solid team. I think they got a lot of their D line has underperformed. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they could definitely pick it up going into this later stretch of the season, especially with Clowney and the guys that they do have. And offensively, I mean, Derrick Henry just wasn't the same Sunday, and I think
Mhm.
we can look towards the coming weeks for him to really explode as he had the previous ones. I think, I mean, it kind of was an anomaly. I just don't think he was right. Same thing with Tannehill. I mean, this team is still good. I think, just got caught in a little bit of a trap game.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right, so
I'll go
top
into my
five.
top five. The Bucks. It's hard to put them this high because they beat the Giants by 2.
Yep.
But seeing the teams below them, I think it's fair.
Yep.
Defense has really impressed me so far this season. I thought it would be like it kind of reminded me of like the Chiefs of a few years ago. There'd just be a really offensive heavy team, and their defense would just be mediocre or worse. But there is not a hole in this team necessarily. The
Mm-hmm.
line has been good. I said Tristan Wirfs should have been like a top 10 pick, and then he
Yep.
fell to them, and he's been really great. So yeah, all they needed was like a little bit better of a line, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for writing you off at the beginning of the season because he's
You put
crazy.
Carson over him.
Jesus, I'm so sorry. I apologize to Dak. I apologize to Tom Brady, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so sorry. I might have put Aaron Rodgers too.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But at 4, we got Russ on the Seahawks. They're still great. I still think they will come out of the NFC.
Yeah.
They're just incredible.
Yep.
Even though that 49ers team is very undermanned, I think they're still
Yeah, but they weren't undermanned last week.
yeah.
They still
So
had Garoppolo and Kittle.
yeah, I think I still thought they would be a little worse in the regular season and then just go on like a playoff run. But I'm happy to see them do good in the regular season. Like sure,
Yeah.
that makes me still makes me happy because
Yeah.
they are the best team in the NFC. Because with that being said, the top 3 teams are all in the AFC. So number 3, the Ravens. Eh, They Lamar Jackson has been very disappointing for me, but their defense, like Patrick Queen and Marlon Humphrey, have been spectacular, and Calais Campbell and that D line, Judon, is very good. But outside of yeah, I don't have a ton positive. It's weird to say that what was one of the best offenses in the past 5 years is kind of fizzled out. It's weird to say, but I mean it is the Steelers defense, which is probably top 2 in the league. But I don't know it's very hard to watch this team on offense, which is something I didn't expect to say going
Inspect.
into the season. Yeah, the,
No,
the Chiefs at 2. I mean, they could be they're interchangeable with
we're
winnable
gonna talk about that.
because
Yeah.
I mean they beat the Jets, and that's a layup. Like Patrick Mahomes against
Avery
Pierre,
Williamson. Now go on.
Pierre Desir and I mean Quentin Williams. Free him,
Yeah.
please. I
He has
mean,
bad, yeah.
yeah, he's been good. He's the only bright spot on that team other than like Jamison Crowder. But
Yep.
yeah, n- then yeah, I don't have any more to say about the Chiefs because they're great. Come on,
Yeah.
and I think that Raiders loss was kind of a fluke. I don't think people should have lost their mind over that. But
Yep.
number 1, the Steelers. I know the PA rivalry. Oh, you can't like the Steelers, but I mean, they're a very likable team. TJ Watt. Let's see. I think even though he torched us, Claypool is still one of my favorite rookies right now.
Mhm.
All I said was Ben Roethlisberger has to be good enough, and then they'll be great. And I'm right. I'm
Yep.
right. All you had to do is a lot of people say, "Oh, he's coming off of surgery. He's going to be trash." And I mean, he hasn't been incredible, obviously, but
But still
yeah,
better.
their
Yeah.
offense has still been pretty good.
Yeah.
Like James Conner, Deontay Johnson, Juju, Eric Ebron, surprisingly, other than those fumbles against the Eagles, he's been good. But yeah, the Steelers, I think, are right now are the best team in football. I mean, they are the last undefeated team, but I mean, I can't really see them making it out of the AFC because I don't think that defense is experienced enough to, I don't know, make it through the playoffs yet. Or maybe the offense, like, kind of reminds me. I always have Juju flashbacks to that fumble against the Saints,
Yeah.
and I feel like that might be repeated this playoffs. But Steelers are number one. I'm sorry to any Chiefs fans or Ravens fans, but oh well.
So I have basically the same top five as you.
All right.
So I'm gonna save us some time and just say one Chiefs, two Steelers, and talk about it a little because I feel like I should defend that. Um,
Yeah, I
well,
mean, I'm not
yeah.
against that at all because
Now,
I can totally see why
I
you
mean, that
Chiefs.
Pittsburgh team, obviously, I love. They've been, I mean, completely fantastic and blown away my expectations. Ben Roethlisberger, I thought, would have some effects post surgery. I think he's been exactly as good as he was before that surgery, which, while still not fantastic, this defense is one of the best the NFL has seen in the past 5 years. I
Yeah,
honestly
for
believe
sure.
that. So I think, that team has to be feared all over the AFC. And I can honestly see a path where they do win the AFC. I
Yeah,
mean, there is such a thing as a Super Bowl, hangover. I think that does exist.
yeah,
I think, they have all the storylines, this great group of rookie wide receivers, James Conner and the comeback season that he's had after the week 2 that he did have. That defense being as ferocious as it has been. So I honestly can see that team coming out of the AFC. At the same time, I think Kansas City, just overall, when you have an offense that is that good and a defense which I honestly think has been better
yeah. They've
than it
been
was last season.
Yeah, they've
Really.
definitely been a little better,
Yeah,
even
that
without
defensive
Kendall
line is
Fuller too.
dominated. Exactly. And so I mean, for me, I have to put them first just because if we're going around the NFL and talking about which team everybody fears the most, that offense with the defense that they're packing now, I think has to be the most feared team in the NFL.
Hmm.
Seriously.
Yeah, I only put them higher just because I don't know. The Chiefs have had a generally easier schedule, like,
They have. They
and
have.
the Steelers beat the third best team in the league. So
And I think has to be the big test. I mean,
yeah,
as we go through this regular season, I think they play. Who'd they play this week?
the
Isn't it?
Chiefs
Yeah, the Chiefs.
they beat the Jets.
No, who did they play this week?
Oh, this
Like
week,
going into this week, yeah.
they play Carolina.
They play Carolina. But
That's
I
yeah,
mean, as you go into later in the season, they play the Bucks, they play the Dolphins who are looking scarier. They play New Orleans. So I think we're going to get more of a sign of how the Chiefs team really looks against this great competition, as we did during that Baltimore game.
yeah,
And I mean how unstoppable they really are with this more loaded defense.
yeah. So I guess or are we just gonna go straight to the Eagles? Or
Sounds good, yeah.
so the Eagles. That they are a football team, and they're not very good in football.
A
Carson
23-9 W over the Dallas Cowboys. And I mean, look, there's not a lot of hope you can take from this.
no,
At the end
yeah,
of the day, you watch this game. I mean, offensively, it's we can't even say it's depleted anymore
yeah,
because you get back Dallas Goddard, you get back Jalen Rieger.
Yeah. I mean,
And
he had a touchdown, so I'll
Carson
give him that.
Wentz, he did, but Carson Wentz just seems
Carson
just
Wentz
as
is bad.
unable to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And I know I've gone back and forth on him throughout the season. I've defended that the athleticism that I felt like, he's had in multiple games so far. I've defended, I think some of the decision making earlier in the season. But when we're this late and you're having these rivalry games in which these teams are just awful.
Yeah.
The New York Giants,
Yeah.
who, have a bottom three defense. The Dallas Cowboys, who, as we've made jokes about throughout this podcast, were historically on pace to have one of the worst defenses in NFL history
Yeah.
until they played us.
And
And
then
so,
they got like 4 turnovers on Carson Wentz.
if we were to do those quarterback power rankings right now again, he would go from number 8 to, I would say, anywhere from 20 to 32.
Yep. We could.
Honestly,
I mean, since we're at mid-season, we could probably do that for our
we
next
could
episode.
probably do that. Honestly,
Yeah. Just so I can.
$100.
Yeah. Just so I can acknowledge my shortcomings in that list and just have the clarity and security of not having Carson Wentz that high on the list.
It's pathetic. And the even sadder part is I think Ben DiNucci honestly outplayed him. You look at the passer rating, 63.5, 63.9, and I'm not
Yeah,
even
that's
joking.
really bad. That's still really bad.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Dallas has, a chance to win that game at the end of it. They're driving down the field. And honestly, if I'm a Cowboys fan and I'm an Eagles fan, I'm more scared if Carson Wentz has the ball with that final drive than I am if Ben DiNucci has the ball. That's the horrifying part in the midst of that game. And so I don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to improve upon it, but it's horrifying.
Yeah. Harry Roseman did nothing during the trade deadline, so
No. And I'm
this is
honestly happy. I'm
yeah,
honestly happy.
yeah,
I know a lot of people were saying they should be quote unquote selling, but I don't see what they have that anyone would want outside
yeah.
of the Stafford's. I
Yeah.
mean,
And we would get
do
like a second or a third, and that's
yeah,
not what
exactly.
we want.
The return value in today's NFL trade system does not allow for,
Yeah,
you look at, even like, I know it's historically good now, but the Antonio Brown trade,
yeah.
a third round pick and a sixth round pick, like,
And I think Marcus Peters was traded for a sixth, which is
exactly.
wild because he's like a top 10 corner in the league.
Exactly. The NFL trade market,
Yeah, it's
it's become
weird.
broken.
Yeah,
And so, if you're not getting that value back, there's no point. I think that's why a lot of teams didn't jump on it. I think the combination of the COVID stuff and, the fact that they haven't really had the opportunity to see these guys. And, we have a huge middle of the pack right now all across the NFL just to make
yeah,
this broader. We talked about it during those power rankings. It's literally from 14 to, I'd say, 24 could easily be flip-flopped a week from now. So
yeah,
we're just going to see. And these are teams fighting for wild card spots at the end of the day.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we get to relax. It's a bye, but
exactly.
it's rough. It's very rough.
We want to talk about the defense before we go.
Yeah, I mean, Fletcher Cox has been better, even though
Better, yeah. As
that's not saying a lot because he's generally been unproductive for the past couple of years. But
I've been incredibly impressed with Brandon Graham.
yeah, Brandon
Oh,
Graham's probably our MVP
yeah,
right now, to be
on a,
honest.
and should be on a Pro Bowl roster, which he
Yeah,
has not been throughout his entire career. I think he's on pace to have, what's it, 18 sacks? Like, that's honestly
yeah,
ridiculous. And, for a team that was supposedly one of the best D lines in football, to have a guy who as underrated as he is anchoring it right now.